Kirstel with another fantastic guest. Really important topic around cybersecurity, remote work, the future of work. Welcome, Ofer Ben Noon of Talon Cybersecurity. Ofer, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks, and thanks for joining me. I know you're here in the US this week and have a particular interest in getting out your vision and your message. So let's dive in. Maybe you could introduce yourself briefly and Talon Cybersecurity for those who aren't familiar.
With pleasure. So, Ofer Benoon, founder and CEO here with Talon. Um, Most of my background is from 8200 Intelligence Unit. I've been serving for about 8 years, discharged as a captain. Um, After that, actually, I co-founded an automotive cybersecurity company,
Hmm.
Argus. Argus was the leader in automotive cybersecurity, protecting about 60 million cars globally, all over the world. And with that, step by step, I guess I really missed the entrepreneurial journey and restarted the journey working on Talon.
Yeah, and what an exciting journey it is. Explain to the viewers and listeners, what is your particular focus at Talon and why the enterprise browser of all things, not known as the most obvious weakness, but tell us why my understanding is wrong.
Sure. So actually, I think that what's interesting about the enterprise browser is the understanding that, in a sense, the world is working, is moving to the web step by step, right?
Mhm.
And with that move to the web, we have more and more devices and more people which are connecting pretty much all over the world from the browser. So the understanding that post the pandemic, in a nutshell, we have now a lot of people working hybrid. So it could be 2 days in the office, it could be one day in the office, it could be 4 days in the office. But in a sense, they are connecting from every place in the world, which means that we have less visibility on the network traffic. We have less visibility about what they do from their devices. The human factor is also a lot more, say, complex, because if in the past you had kind of the separation, now I'm doing personal things, now I'm doing work
Ah,
things, now these environments are really are mixing together, obviously. And then we have a lot more SaaS services, a lot more web applications. So if we think about it, um, in a sense, we have more and more people which are using the browser all day long. So
wow.
if about 5 years ago, we had pretty much very little amount of web applications. And just before the pandemic, a typical organization had 500 web applications. Now, when you are asking the security leaders and IT leaders how many SaaS services your employees are using, then a typical answer would be 1,500. And
Wow.
with this statement, it's a lot of challenge, right? About how do you monitor them? What is allowed to do? What is not allowed to do? And also, you have a lot of challenges around potentially how do we control this for compliance requirements that all organizations in the world probably will have. And the third area is the variety of workers, right? Because we have a lot more contractors and third parties and temporary employees, and not all of them are using the corporate devices, so you cannot enforce your typical security stack. And with that, we asked ourselves, can we come up with a cybersecurity solution that will work for every type of worker from anywhere in the world, from any device in the world, right? Can we do that in any way? And that really led us to Talon, to develop a secure enterprise browser.
That's fantastic. So are you a born in the pandemic startup, or did you have this idea of a secure enterprise browser pre-pandemic?
Actually, we were born in the pandemic. So Ohad and I have
Mhm.
started working on Talon somewhere in June 2020, 3 months into the pandemic. And we had this feeling and understanding that it may be that this new world, this new type of work environment may actually be a very good justification to a new
Mm,
network and endpoint security solutions, right? It may be that we need to think a little bit different about cybersecurity. So there were 3 months into the pandemic, sitting ask ourselves, is this tectonic change, is it here for the long term? And if so, does it justify a new way of thinking about cybersecurity for this new hybrid distributed workforce? And maybe also the background of Ohad is really interesting here because um, in a sense, both Ohad and I embarked into the world of cybersecurity and entrepreneurship in cybersecurity from the side of mobility. So Ohad, my co-founder, was the founder of Lacoon Mobile Security. Lacoon was the first antivirus for smartphones, right?
mm,
And when you think about it, he had to allow and to enable devices to access from any place in the world for many years, and the ability to make them actually uh, to enable the employees to freely access the corporate resources from everywhere, right? And for me, it was about connected cars, right? So hundreds of thousands of connected cars which were going on the road, and you wanted to allow them to access the internet securely. So we sat there in June 2020, asked ourselves, what is the next tectonic change of the world? What is the area that there is going to be a significant vacuum that we can bring value to hundreds of millions of people all over
mm.
the world to make their life easier? And with that, at that day, when the idea kind of came into our mind, okay, it makes sense to do security different, and the world is moving to the web. So instead of now surrounding the browser with so many different solutions, we can just implement that security inside the browser. So obviously, the
Mm.
pandemic was a significant motivation for Talon, and I think it seems like a lot of stars have aligned, and obviously, um, luck is a significant portion of entrepreneurship.
Well, it sounds like luck and timing and also customer traction. It's really hard for new entrants to get customers, especially large enterprise customers. But tell us about your traction because you do have some indeed and some really interesting customers already on board.
Of course. So we're fortunate actually to be trusted by some of the biggest organizations in the world, Fortune 100 organizations that um, believed in a similar vision to ours and had the challenges of how do you connect the hybrid work, how do you connect the contractors, how
Mm,
do you ease the work of some of their employees working from home, working some of the time from the office, some of the time outside of the office, and making that connection a lot simpler, a lot easier. And I think in a sense we're quite lucky on that sense to be as you said in the right timing where the organizations were struggling on the same challenges and agreed with our vision. So it resonated. Some of the biggest financial organizations in the world, some of the biggest
mhm.
retailers, some of the biggest banks, um, manufacturing organization, food industry. So I think it feels good. Healthcare.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's about entrepreneurship. For me, it's about bringing value, right? So how many people we could make their life easier, how many organizations we could simplify things.
Yeah, that's so reassuring, not just for the C-suite, the CISO, the CISO, but also the employee who's always worried about, doing the wrong thing or being vulnerable to attacks. Um, I just love how Israel is startup nation. You just have so much talent. When it comes to security, like what's the secret sauce that enables so many innovative companies like Talon to be born?
Oh,
Is there a secret that maybe I don't know about?
actually, it's a long answer. It's a long and interesting answer, but look, I'll try to do it as fast as
We
possible.
have
But
time, but yes, I'm
okay,
sure our
okay,
audience would love to hear maybe a couple of
okay.
insights.
So I'm sure that you ask every entrepreneur in Israel what is the reason that security in Israel is relatively popular and how so many different innovations came out of Israel. I have my opinion, I'll share it, but obviously there is probably not one answer. Um, so in the history of Israel, intelligence played a critical role. And the
Mm,
reason why intelligence have played such a critical role um, is in most of the wars of Israel, we had our opponents have dramatically had more people coming into this war than the Israeli army had.
mhm,
So, by definition, Israel had to, um, in a sense, really rely on reserves.
mhm,
And unlike obviously bike riding a tank or shooting a rifle, it's not something that like if you don't practice you have the ability
mhm,
to do. So you cannot send soldiers to the front kind of without a proper training in order to defend our country. So in each one of these, we needed to have 48, 72 hours of initial training to allow our soldiers to protect themselves, to be able kind of, in a sense, to remember how to operate the different tools. So intelligence was critical in getting these 48, 72 hours for
mhm,
proper training for reserves to be able to protect themselves. And if you think early on, 1948, intelligence was about vision. But then I take you 2 decades after, and then now it's about RF. It's about
mhm,
communication, and that's why if you think about the early days of entrepreneurship in Israel, it was a lot about communication. If you're thinking about
mhm.
The Rad Group, or companies like Seragon, uh, um, a lot of innovation was about communication in Israel. Then I take you another decade after, or 2 decades after. Now all of the communication between different groups around us is encrypted. And it's also based on different other cyber capabilities. And in order to have a proper intelligence, we need to be very good at cyber.
Yeah,
And
it makes total sense. And you mentioned the war analogy. Well, we're in war. We're in a cyber war with state actors and criminals and all kinds of shady characters. So it's a scary time, and this seems like a really fascinating solution. What's your go to market? Are you really looking to sell to big enterprises, to SMEs, to integrators, managed service providers, or really all the above?
So I think today it's mainly around big enterprises, so
Hmm.
organizations with above 5,000 employees. That's most of the company focus, but also a little bit smaller enterprises, so potentially 1,000 to 5,000. So that's most of the company focus. We have a lot of channel partners that we're
Hmm.
working with. So in order to have the right scale and to be able to support as many customers as we can as possible. So this is our main focus,
Terrific, terrific.
both on the ground, obviously, in different regions.
That's fantastic. Now, there are one or two companies I hear that are going after this market, this new market that you've created, enterprise secure browsing. But I know a few of your team members. You have a really great team also here in the U.S. But besides the team and the technology, like what's your key differentiator? How do you intend to win this space?
Sure. So actually, the number one most important factor is the team, more than anything else, right? So by far, I think that we have the strongest and the most passionate team in this industry. Actually, I think now we probably have already about 7 competitors, so we need another 9,
Oh,
and
wow.
it can be officially a category. Yeah. So we invite another 2 companies to join this journey. But seriously speaking, I think that the fact that we grew into this space via the unmanaged devices, right? And the fact that we most of our early customers were on devices that we couldn't trust, that security was a huge challenge, that you couldn't trust the device, is a key factor in everything that we are doing. And I think our differentiation is a lot about security. So even the fact that you are um, making sure that everything that is running on the device, which may be malicious, is not able to hinder our environment. The ability to make sure that we are always up to date with all of the security challenges around the browser, and the ability really to make sure that we are positioned um, as the anchor of security on these endpoints of unmanaged devices is critical. So I think this would be probably what differentiates us from the rest of the pack. But number one would always be the team, and having such a team members is a huge honor for us. Having a lot of our experienced employees that have worked with Ohad and myself in the past is quite amazing.
Absolutely. Now you're in the US quite a lot, but you're also here this week for a big event. I'm not familiar with Cybertech. I mean, I know the big shows like DEF CON and RSA and others. What is Cybertech all about?
Cybertech is mainly about security innovation.
Mhm.
Some of the best innovations in the market are coming to show their newest technologies, to discuss on the trends and the challenges that we have in the industries, and how different companies are focused on this. Also hearing some of the customers and the buyers bringing some of their feedbacks on the new
Mhm.
challenges and what they are focused in terms of next purchasing. So I think it's pretty much the opportunity to bring everyone together, to think, to meet the peers. Actually, for me also to meet my team that is coming here into Cybertech. So it's an opportunity to have everyone together for a couple of days of thinking, to meet a lot of our customers which are coming to the event. And I guess we really missed events after this last crazy 2.5 years. So every event is now extremely well, very much welcomed.
Indeed. Well, I wish I were there, but I'll be following along on LinkedIn. I know you're a power user there, and of course on Twitter. And thanks so much for the update. And good luck in your mission, onwards and upwards. Very important and exciting one. And I'm sure we'll get more news and updates through the course of the week. Well, thanks, Ofer. Thanks so much
Thank you. I
for
really
joining me.
appreciate it. It was fun.
It was indeed, and I'm sure we'll break bread at some point, either here in the U.S. or in Israel. Winter's coming here in Boston, so I always look forward to a trip out to the Mediterranean in
Deal.
January or February.
Looking forward to
So,
welcome you.
okay, thanks so much. Take care. Bye bye.